To our first round of KMTK Debate Royale, Battle Ideal, which is organized by ESCO Academic and ESCO Penerangan dan Penerbitan JPP 2023/2024. Now, we have come to the most awaited moment to proceed with today's debate. I would like to call upon the Honorable Moderator, Tan Hui Chun, to take the floor.
Thank you, Xuan. So I'm the moderator, Wei Chun, and I'll be carrying the session today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that everyone is excited for the debate to begin. Before that, let me introduce our adjudicators. Firstly, our panel of esteemed adjudicators is led by Mr. Muhammad Halim bin Afralulan. And next, we have Madam Farida binti Burhanuddin. And last but not least, we have Madam Jun Yasmin binti Ahmad. To keep the time today is our timekeeper, Jess Ong and Aina. Alright, so government team and opposition team, you may come up to the stage right now. Now, let me introduce the speakers. On my right is the dedication from the government, represented by always right, the Prime Minister, and we have a Deputy Prime Minister, and also the government whip. So on my left-hand side is the representative from the opposition team, represented by Ingenious, the Leader of Opposition, Deputy Leader of Opposition, and Opposition whip. Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to call upon the first speaker of the government, Prime Minister, to deliver a speech and open the case for the government on today's motions that this House believes that companies should be required to hire an equal split of 50% male and 50% female employees. So now, Prime Minister, you will and give a speech.
Honorable members of Parliament, esteemed and everyone here as included, I stand before you as the Prime Minister to address the present issue at hand, in definition and based on the questions. Prime Minister for the government will enhance the fund if at the end of the government will be implementing by the law. Motion of today's debate is of the utmost importance and is by our several consideration, which is this House belief that government should be required to hire an equal split of male and female employees. As a Prime Minister, I strongly agree with this motion, but to start off, we need to know what the definition of the motion is. The motion are defined as employers should hire a fair and equal amount of male and female employees as each gender are not paid more than the other one. So to start off, the first point is to enhance collaboration. The collaboration is to improve the problem solving with both male and female, as they both can be working together on the part each gender are less than. So basically, there is also a law from the US, from the Senate of the Civil Rights and Association 1964 with the legislation that prohibits employees from discriminating against employees on the basis of sex, race, color, religion, and origin. we have to get it to now see that's good. Other than that, also one of the points that I would like to get, market representation. As the company are able to not be picky with the genders, they can be just completely focused on the abilities of the single skills instead. This shows that companies are not biased and they can be completely trusted as they are not choosing on the gender stereotypes and other people can request the jobs. This causes the company to have a better image and is ultimately able to improve economic.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Now, I call upon the first speaker of the opposition, leader of opposition, to open the case and counter the argument of the government. I shall now invite to deliver his speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, today that we are talking about equally split of 50% male to female employees. However, coming up from the government team, they are basically talking about biasness between genders, which does not really correlate with the company. So, before I continue, I would like to say a very good evening to the honourable judges, precise timekeepers, amazing opponents, comrades, and lastly, members of the club. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'll be doing two things. Firstly, I'll be rebutting whatever things that is brought up by the government team, and I will also give my point. Secondly, the deputy LO will be providing one argument, and the opposition whip will be debunking any ideas that have been brought up by the government team. Now, it's very interesting that as the government team, she did not really mention the literal definition of the topic, so I'll be mentioning today. So I'll be mentioning the key phrases that are important that support this motion. Firstly is companies. When we talk about companies, we are mentioning a society where they work together and have a own organization that produce a product that can be sold to the public. Besides that, equal split. What it means that we are having an equal, a fair amount that is evenly distributed to one another. And lastly, employees. What does it mean by employees? Are that people who are currently working in under a company. So the government team did not mention it in the definition, so today I'll be mentioning that. Besides that, I've noticed also that the motive coming from the government team is also a bit leaning towards our side, because she did mention that yes, we should not, companies should not focus on gender's biasness, which actually we also are totally agree, which actually it also shows that we are not saying that each company should have a percentage where male should be more dominant than female, no. So that's how, before that I'll be going to my point, but before I continue, is there any POIs that have been brought up with the government team? Okay, no, thank you so much. Okay, so for now I'll be moving on to my first point, which is meritocracy. So what is meritocracy? Well, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, it is a social system, society or organization which people get success or power because of their abilities, not because of their position, religion, and basically their gender. So this clears the fact that we are not actually talking about gender's biasness. So besides that, I will also say that meritocracy has been introduced in the industry for a long time. If you want to talk about in Malaysia, it has been introduced since 2002. What is this 50-50% split is actually talking about is that we should be essentially reducing a person's accomplishment to their gender, which we totally oppose. We should focus people based on their qualities and their credentials. So let's look at the examples that has been come up from the companies that have succeed from time to time. Let's take Apple for example, which has ranked number 1 from 2022 rank of employees. It has stated that they have been following this meritocracy system, and it has been shown that there is an unequal amount of distribution between male and female. So there is around 64.6% male and 35.3% female. However, let's look at the other companies such as Microsoft. It does not apply the 50% rule. However, it is still improving from time to time. And it has around 34% female and 60% men. let's not look about only on the male dominant side. Let's look at a company such as Padini, which is a famous company in Malaysia that's been growing from time to time. It has around 60% female and 40% male. Lastly, I will also give another company, which is L'Oreal, which is a fragrance company that many of us would know, and he has around 30% male and 70% female. So this shows that what is our stand towards this is that this 50-50% split isn't relevant enough to be taken into consideration because it has not proved on how it could really benefit us from skyrocketing a company. Because at the end of the day, if we are looking at the motion, which implies that it talks about company, we should be really focusing on, instead of gender biasness or there's a 50-50 split, we should be really focusing on how that company can improve from time to time. That's all from me. So before I end my speech, I would like to say that we should not think ideally, but we should think realistically. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. I now call upon the second Speaker of the Government, Deputy Prime Minister, to deliver a speech.
Studies show that business teams with an equal gender mix perform significantly better than male-dominated teams when it comes to both sales and profits. Like Leader of Opposition have mentioned, they have already mentioned about big companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Huraini. And what he mentioned is that companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Huraini has give a big impact to society because they do not follow this 50% gender split. Okay. I have a point. What is this 50% and 50%? What if these companies follow this 50% male and 50% female employees and they can do better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any example that shows that this 50% has skyrocketed between companies?
He only had mentioned about big companies. There are a lot of small companies that have been reaching to success. And there is also a lot of possibilities, high possibilities of these big companies achieving something better. Like Apple, for example, Apple definitely has some improvements. But the improvement in Apple companies is very low. What the next thing they're going to do is improving the camera qualification, the capacity. What if they apply these concepts and then they can do something even better? They can even be a big lot of big companies, smartphone companies. Before I start my points, I'd like to read a very good morning, a very good evening to the educator, timekeeper, and people on the floor. Okay. My first point is that applying this 50% male and 50% female employee concept, it will involve in diverse perspective. Why do I say this? Okay, having a diverse perspective. Okay, what if there's 30% male or 70% female or vice versa? And then people, when it comes for ideas, perspectives, people are most likely to go for the idea that is dominated by people, the majority. They will go for the majority. If they ask for opinion, they will like, okay, who goes for this one? Okay, let's go the majority. But if there's 50% male and 50% female, most likely may have the same perspective and female have the same perspective. They have to go for something they have to combine. What if this combination is something big, some kind of innovation that is that is mind blowing. So having a diverse perspective is also fosters creativity. As I mentioned, it will create something that is very big and that can even change one of the most problematic issues in our country. And it fosters creativity, innovation, and problem solving. Okay. So if you follow these concepts, people with various background will contribute something to the company, and then this company will eventually think of a solution if they have an issue or an idea, if they're thinking of something new to produce. This will be such a great implication. Other than that, following this concept will also improve company culture. If I work in a company culture, I definitely want the company to be peaceful. I don't want a lot of dramas. So if you follow this 50% male and 50% female concept, I will most likely to feel safe and I feel so
how do I say it? I feel satisfied. I know that this position is equally given to anyone else. Male and female are given equal opportunity in this company, and I won't feel biased, jealous, or anything else. From biasness, he has mentioned, leader of opposition have mentioned that we are talking about biasness. There is no such thing of biasness. You cannot support biasness. That's because of saying female, splitting between male and female. We're not talking about male biasness. You know why? This is why. According to country meters info, the population of female in this world is 49.3% and male is 50.7%, which is almost equal. So the demand for a particular field is almost equal. And same goes to companies in Malaysia. Population of male and female in Malaysia is also equal. I would like to highlight another point. The Prime Minister of the government has already mentioned the definition of the quotient. Maybe he's not aware of something, but this the definition stated by Prime Minister of the government. Definition is employers should hire a fair and equal amount of male and female employees, as each gender are not paid more than the other one. Last but not least, I would like to highlight my very main point. Applying this concept will abolish gender pay gap. There is such thing as gender pay gap. Let me give you the definition. According to Cambridge Dictionary, gender pay gap is defined as difference between the amount of money paid to women and men, often for doing the same work. I would like to highlight for doing the same work. Why is there such difference? Yes.
Sorry, there's no POI. Now it's the protected time.
Okay. How does this abolish gender pay gap? First, it will increase representation. By hiring more women in traditionally male-dominated industries or hiring more men in women and dominated industries or leadership position, it helps to break down the gender status biases. A lot of people have this kind of mindset. They're thinking that, for an example, male are not suitable for chef and female are not suitable for pilot. In fact, there are a lot of successful and talented people who can do this. The main reason why people think, like, for example, female cannot be a pilot is that they have this stereotype that male are very good at operating things. That is totally untrue. This is more practical. So, female are not going to carry the aeroplane or something. They're going to operate the aeroplane. So it's two different things. Second, equal access to opportunities. It will help to address any existing biases or discrimination in the hiring process and provides a fair chance for individuals to compete for position based on qualification and skills. As I said, same population, it will also increase the demand for a specific field. Eventually, it will unlock fairness and equality in society. Thank you so much.
Thank you for Deputy Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to listen to the second speaker from the opposition, Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Okay, good morning. Good evening, everyone, to the honorable judges, to the wise timekeepers, and to our disciplined and wise opposition and my fellow comrades. I'm here. I would like to talk about and debate what the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister have said earlier. When both of them when the Deputy Prime Minister talk about the small company does not show the growth and the quality. Because when you talk about the example that you just gave on earlier, when you talk about the small company, I've already did the 50-50 quotes on the male and female. But it doesn't prove, and it proves that they are still a small company. And what my the LO has said earlier, he talked about a big company. Doesn't that proves that this big company based in the meritocracy and does not follow the 50-50 quota, and yet they made very so much growth rather than this small company. Okay, so on to the next one. I want to talk about when you talk about the peaceful environment in the company. When we talk about peaceful, it doesn't even relate to our 50-50 male and female quotas in employment. Because if you really want to talk about a peaceful, then why doesn't these big companies such as Starbucks, McDonald's, why are there not many protests out there about male and female? Because all of these big companies search for the quality in their employment, not just because of 50-50 male and female. Okay, that's from my debate, and I would like to talk about the point to oppose with what Deputy Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister and Prime Minister have said earlier. Okay, I want to talk about the difficulty. I think that because Deputy Prime Minister and Prime Minister have ever thought about this, but it is very difficult to maintain the 50-50 employment in male and female employment in a company. Okay, why is it? Can be a challenge. It requires a proactive efforts. And other than that, it is out of norm. And my LO have said earlier, after a long period of time, even before, all of these companies have been following this meritocracy. Then why aren't they following? Then why aren't they having a downfall right now? It proves that the 50-50 male employment, male and female, doesn't even they need to maintain the 50-50 quota, they need to take the less educated ones. Why? So, why doesn't they bring the highly educated women? Just because of them want to think about the 50-50 ratio, they just force it to their own company just because they need to think, oh, 50-50. Because we need to think properly about what a real company's goal. Real company's goal is to achieve profit margins and everything. They want to reach the top. They don't need to reach this 50-50 gender thing just so that they could please the people. Okay. Other than that, when we talk about out of norm, we can talk about why change something that has been successful for a long period of time. So I said earlier. So this affects and resistance to change. The employment, let's say if the company have 70% male and 30% female, if the company really needs to change, they need to bring out the 20% male. Why do they need to do that in the first place? When they have this quality 70% and 30% people, 30% employees, that is very good. And this proves the equity. The equity brings meritocracy. Meritocracy brings equity. That's what a real company wants. Okay. Other than that, are there any points that you guys, are there any question that the opposition, the government side wants to ask?
Just now when you mentioned about McDonald's and Starbucks not bringing up protesters, don't you think they have confidentiality issues that will be brought up if they do protest the actual issue that happens in their workplace?
Okay, that's a very good question actually. Why? You said why they even do that right now, right? Okay, why aren't they even doing that right now? If it's actually like a very important thing for them, then why aren't they protesting? That proves that the McDonald's, the way of the McDonald's, Starbucks and Apple have been doing for a long period of time proves their successfulness without the 50-50 employment. Because why? Quality is more important than equality actually. Okay. So, why I'm going to bring back my main point is the difficulty of maintaining the 50-50% in quota in male and female. Why? It's impractical and unfair actually. Like I've already said earlier about the 10%, about the 10 people, like the male and female, where the one person can resign and they need to choose between a very good male or a very high educated female. Of course, they will choose the quality one. Okay. Other than that, I want to talk about the gender tendency in different fields. But you have talked about what the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister have talked about earlier. It's about fields such as that is very. You need to look in the overview of many different aspects. There are many sectors of work in Malaysia, not even in Malaysia, in our global world. Okay, for example, men are more leaning towards the hard labor work. If we want to talk about the cost, let's say for even around us, when they are doing a construction work, do you expect a female to be there and carry many heavy things, or do you Or do you expect a man that after for so long that is induced for hard labor because men are leaning more towards the hard labor work? Okay,
Thank you.
that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. I shall now call upon the third speaker from the Government Whip, to deliver her rebuttals.
Good evening to the honorable adjudicators, moderators, timekeepers, the opposition, and the members of the floor. So I would like to repeat the motion for today. This House believes that companies should be required to hire on equal split of 50% male and 50% female employees. Okay, to come to my point, the leader of the opposition was saying that they actually don't support gender bias, that we were the one that was talking about biasness. But just now, when the deputy leader of the opposition just said men lean towards labor, do you expect female to be there on the spot doing the hard work? Yes, I do expect women to be there. Another thing is, if females are not meant to do hard labor, protected time. If females are not expected to do hard labor, then why is there female weightlifting competitions? Why is there even in Olympics?
Do you agree that men and female strength are equal?
No, I was coming to that point. Men and female strength are not equal, but equality doesn't mean equity. Equity means you have to see the difference. Each employer is responsible to see the strength and weaknesses of their employees. Just because you take a female and male, you don't give them the same job. Sure, when you're taking about when you're deciding on who to give the heavy labor to, you'll depend on the male. But what about other jobs that are required in the same department? What about supervision? Who's going to be the supervisor of the entire construction? There's more jobs. And over here, I would also like to say that they are also leaning towards the bias. Let's say companies like Apple and Microsoft, they are dominated by the males. And Padini, dominated by females. So, is this bias or not? It is. I'm saying, why shouldn't there be more males in companies like Padini? Why shouldn't there be? Yes.
I said that they are choosing people based on their priorities. So it doesn't matter, it just happen to affect that there are more females and males between each company. They don't have a ratio here that you say.
The question?
I did not say that company has a ratio gap. If you are saying that each company has this percentage of males, this percentage of females.
So basically you're stating your point again that each companies are saying based on their capabilities and not their gender. Actually, to be honest, I think most of these companies pick their employees based on their gender. If a leadership position was open to the floor, if two candidates were to arrive, a male and a female, people are more likely to choose the male candidate because males are seen as head figures. So this is another problem that we face. Okay, and coming back to the meritocracy point, where we should take people based on their abilities and not their genders and things like that. The thing is, this law was not put in yet. And do we see any improvement? Do we see male dominant companies having more females? No, females don't choose their job because they are afraid of being dominated by the male category. And yes,
one critical issues that shows that we need to apply the 50-50 50-50 policy.
The main issue is females are not getting jobs. They cannot survive on their own. There is a lot of cases where females don't come out of their house because they are not financially stable. Is one of a very big issue because they are not guaranteed a job, and most of the opposition side is thinking based on the employers, but they are not thinking of the employee. The employee is also important. The 50-50 ratio is, we are talking for the employees, not the employer. Yes.
Then why do they need an interview? Then why do they even need an interview? Because an interview, they need the quality. So that proves that I'm not saying about the women, it could possibly be the men also, who's that they have less quality. It's not about the balance between 50-50 or anything.
Okay, coming to your point, like my Deputy Prime Minister stated, the population in our country is 1-to-1 ratio. That means if there was an interview to be held and there's 100 candidates, 50 would be male and 50 would be female. So I'm pretty sure that they will be able to compensate for each other, because the world is not black and white. There's not going to be one smart person and there's not going to be a person who is not that intelligent. There will be different aspects and different departments to be chosen from. I'm saying is you can actually implement this without making it sound like it's something out of the norm. It's something very difficult. It is difficult. It is not impossible. We're talking, the Prime Minister, the government side, and we are talking for making this a rule. Because yes, initially any part is difficult. Initially everything takes time. But we can move towards it because the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah,
Yes.
since you mentioned that the population in Malaysia is actually 50, can you mention other countries and other companies that has applied this and has skyrocketed?
That is what we are talking about. Actually, this implementation is not that famous yet, and we are fighting for this to be implemented all over the places. Instead of just being talk among people, instead of just being an idea, we want it to work. So, with this, I stand strongly saying that this house believes that companies should be required to hire an equal split of 50% male and 50% female employees. With that, I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Government. It's now time to listen to the rebuttals of the third speaker from the opposition way.
Very good day to the honorable judges, respective timekeepers, fellow contestants, and members of the floor. I'm standing here. My first job is to rebut all the points given by the government side, and I also like to emphasize again what my leader of opposition, deputy leader of opposition have mentioned in their previous speech. Firstly, I would like to begin with the first point given by the Prime Minister, the first speaker. She stated that it had enhanced collaborative and improved problem solving by implementing this 50-50 method. Don't you think that if you don't implement this 50-50 method, we can still provide a very good idea, and also this 50-50 method does not affect at all about how that particular company can succeed in their company. For example, don't you think that even some companies, they are applying 60 and 40% method, but they are still able to produce a good product. For example, as my first speaker mentioned about the Apple company, okay, they did not apply this 50-50 method, but yet they are being one of the top tier company. They still deliver good products. Yes, sir.
Are you saying that these companies are succeeding because they are close to 50 percentage, because they are going 60-40, but it is actually close to 50-50? Are you saying their success is based on this?
No, I'm not saying that they are. I'm not saying that. Okay, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that you don't necessarily need to apply this 50-50% in order for you to improve problem solving skill. And also, the first speaker also mentioned that that you can enhance ideas and creativity by implementing this 50-50 skill. So I don't think that is not logic. And also, the Prime Minister failed to convince us as the opposition, and she also failed to give statistics, examples. So you are not talking based on facts. You are basically make a myth. Okay, you're not giving us good example. You're not giving a clear example. So I think the first speaker from the Prime Minister failed to do that. And also the first speaker also mentioned about the races and religion in their speech. So I don't think so. Right now we are talking about the quotas 50-50%. We're not talking about religion and races. So the first speaker is literally going around the bush. Rejected.